Let's get to our team coverage this noon. Our team of reporters and meteorologists on the ground spread out across the Dayton area in North Dayton. We begin, though, first with Allison Rogers. She's live in Trotwood with a look at the damage there. It is extensive, we're hearing, Allison.
Yeah, Colin, we got here earlier this morning, and we've just been walking around this neighborhood with residents who live here, and it is devastating. Now, I was speaking to one homeowner who was standing by his window. He actually told me when the storm was blowing through, he saw the street lamp break with the strong winds. And he said at that moment, that was when he knew he needed to get into his basement. He and the rest of his family went down into their basement. They spent about 15 to 20 minutes down there as the storm was rolling through here. And it actually knocked that wall over. The wall now sitting in their neighbor's yard, right next to it, another wall coming off the house, going across the street over here. Now, I actually spoke to the resident living in this home. She was at work. Her daughter was home when the storm was rolling through.
I was at work.
Okay.
And my 20-year-old called me and said, "Mom, it's here." And I told her to go to the smallest place in the house. So my sister is Alzheimer's and dementia, so she took them and the baby and got into the smallest areas of the house.
And everyone's okay?
Everyone's okay. There was a lot of destruction. We filed our claim last night at midnight.
Okay.
So it's just a cleanup now. This is Mother Nature at her finest. You know, everybody's fine. Nobody was hurt. So we can always rebuild.
Yeah, she told me she works about 8 blocks away, and it took her 2 hours to get home last night. And yeah, you can see just utter devastation. That house, the siding ripped off of it. This neighborhood, extensive damage, not just where we are here, but throughout the whole neighborhood. You can see trees just thrown over here, siding stretched all the way down the street. And what you're seeing, this little white stuff here, I was asking some of the neighbors what this actually is, because it's not just on the streets, it's plastered on all of the walls, it's plastered on all of the cars around here. They're telling me that it's insulation from the homes, because several homes around here, roofs torn off, the sides of the homes torn off. Again, guys, there's a lot of devastation, very extensive around this area, but I'll send it back to you all in the studio.
Yeah, Allison, you're surveying that devastation, and I saw your tweet. You said that the National Weather Center has confirmed that this was an EF3 that touched down in Beaver Creek, I know. Can you talk more just about the statistics that are coming in from that?
Yeah, so they're saying it's at least an EF3 tornado going through Beaver Creek. They're going to continue their surveying. What happens when we're talking about tornadoes in their ranking? You have to go out after the tornado to actually go out and survey the damage, because you can't take scientific data from the tornado itself. So what happens is you get this team of meteorologists from the National Weather Service. They go out and they survey the damage, and based off the damage, that's where they give it their ranking. It goes all the way from an EF0 and up to an EF1, 2, and then you get to the EF3, and it goes all the way up to an EF5. So they're saying it's at least an EF3 tornado. That's a fairly strong tornado, especially for this area. I was talking to residents asking, you know, would you ever expect anything like this here? And they all told me, no, they would never expect to see a tornado like this here.
All right, Allison Rogers there for us in Trotwood, Ohio, one of the most hard-hit areas for these tornadoes overnight. Our team coverage continues this noon.
That's right. Let's check back in with meteorologist Allison Rogers. Allison, we just heard the National Weather Service saying that this is an EF3 tornado there in Trotwood.
Yeah, so they just confirmed at least an EF3 tornado coming through here in Trotwood last night. And they're saying based off the damage that they've seen, and I will say that survey is still ongoing, but based off the damage they've seen so far in the Trotwood area, winds of at least 140 miles per hour. So we're still here in Trotwood. We're in the same neighborhood. We just walked a couple of blocks down, and we found this home here completely just destroyed. You can see the roof completely collapsed down on the home, all the plywood, all the insulation, the roof now, pieces of it on the grass here. And believe it or not, there were 3 people in this home, and I spoke to one of the people who were in the home at the time of the tornado last night, and all 3 made it out okay, but they were all trapped in their basement. When they got the alert on their phone, they were wondering, is this real? They were in the basement, tornado came through, they didn't realize that this was on top of them. They were trapped in their basement. It took them about 3 hours to get out, and neighbors actually pulled them out. She said neighbors, about 20 of them, pulled them out of the home. So you can actually see this tiny hole right here, this is where they were pulled out of. It was her 80-year-old mother, and then her sister as well. Again, they're all okay today, which is amazing and incredible to see once you see the extensive damage with this home here. The roof completely white right now just because of all the insulation that was floating through the air last night and just completely drenching their roof. And you can see all the plywood bent as if it was nothing for that tornado to do that. And we were actually talking to a couple of residents of this neighborhood here, and one earlier said the same thing. She said she got the alert on her phone wondering, is this real?
Just immense devastation we're able to see here.
So
just an amazing look. Can you talk about some of the rescue crews? We've heard they've been making their way through the different quadrants. I believe it's 9 different crews through 9 quadrants in North Dayton. Have you been able to see some rescuers, as you were kind of alluding to that story firsthand? Have you seen anything?
You know what, Colin? Actually, on our way here, as we were driving to this area, we saw Ohio Task Force 1. We saw some of the dogs that they had there. And just a few moments ago, we saw people with the power crews kind of going around checking the lines around this area. Other than that, personally, I have not seen that many people. We've kind of been tucked away in this neighborhood back here. I've seen, what I will say, which is amazing, is neighbors helping out neighbors here in this neighborhood. And when I was talking to some of the residents of this neighborhood, they were all saying, yeah, that's the kind of community this is. We're helping each other. No one was hurt. No one was killed. That's the most important thing. We can rebuild. These are just homes. We can rebuild. The most important thing is that everyone is okay.
Absolutely. That is the first and foremost thing for sure. Allison, she's on the ground for us in Trotwood, Ohio. Allison Rogers, thank you so much live for us this noon. Of course, right now, we want to get back to our team coverage. We know that Allison Rogers, of course, has been all over for us, and she joins us now, I think, from Trotwood, Ohio. Allison, we know that there was an EF3 tornado that kind of came through there. I want to talk to you about some of the devastation that you're seeing firsthand on the ground.
Yeah, Colin, so the EF3 tornado coming through here, the National Weather Service is still trying to determine whether or not that was the same EF3 that went through Beaver Creek, or if it was a second tornado coming through here in Trotwood. Again, with the damage that they surveyed earlier, and you can see it's fairly extensive behind me with this house here, with the damage that they saw during their survey, winds around 140 miles per hour, so at least an EF3 tornado. Survey is still ongoing from the National Weather Service. This home you see here, this is actually the front of the house that we were showing you earlier, where the house collapsed. 3 people were in the basement at the time of the tornado. They had to be pulled by neighbors from the house. The neighbors tried to get to them one way. They couldn't quite get to them that way because her mother, she was 80 years old, so they had to find another way to get them out of this house. So they were actually pulled out of this house about 3 hours after the tornado went through. So that's about 3 o'clock in the morning. They're being pulled. They had no idea the damage that was sitting right on top of them as they were in their basement. Across the street here, you can see another home. The wall completely missing. You can see straight into the living room of that home there. And we've been talking to neighbors all morning long, asking them, were you here? Were you aware that this was going to happen? And one woman told us she got the alert on her phone and she wondered if it was really going to happen.
My phone went off, and so normally we get alerts, you know, but you just like, no, it ain't gonna happen here. And so all of a sudden we started hearing stuff hit the windows, and I got this worse headache. Like I thought my head was gonna explode, and I said, well, oh my God, ears just popped. And before we knew it, it was over with. I opened up the front door and looked out and just cried.
Yeah, we were talking to her and she said there just were no words of what she was seeing as we were walking through the neighborhood here. Several homes damaged. This one, of course, appears to be destroyed. Again, they were stuck in their basement for about 3 hours before they were able to be pulled from the rubble and pulled out of their basement. She said her basement's fine, but of course the rest of the home does not appear to be fine by any means. So for now, I'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
All right, Allison Rogers there for us live in Trotwood, where an EF3 tornado struck down. Thank you, Allison, for covering that throughout the morning. And we listened to that woman, and we've all been there in that situation where we get an alert on our phone and we're not sure if we should take it as seriously as, you know, it's predicted. But now these people are in this situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Meteorologist Allison Rogers has been talking with people just starting the cleanup process, and she is live for us with what she has seen and the questions the Weather Service still trying to answer. Allison.
Yeah, Mike, so the Weather Service is actually still trying to figure out whether the EF3 tornado that went through here is the same one that went through Greene County. So the survey is still ongoing at this point in time. Now, 140 miles per hour, it's kind of hard to fathom what kind of damage that would do, but you're looking at it right here. You can see trees down, siding off of homes down, and it's eerie because now that the wind is still blowing, you can still hear the siding hitting the sides of these homes here. I mean, just complete devastation. The sounds around here include sirens, helicopters flying overhead, and then chainsaws from everybody trying to start with the cleanup that's going to take, as Sheree mentioned, months, if not even longer. And we spoke to one resident of this neighborhood here in Trotwood who she made it to the basement with her 4-year-old son just in time. And once they got out, they then walked to where they could be safe for the rest of the night and today. But then she got a phone call, and she got a phone call from some of her neighbors who called her about something pretty alarming, something that unfortunately a lot of people here are now having to worry about.
I got a phone call from a neighbor and said, hey, there's people walking in your home saying you have really nice stuff and going in your refrigerator, taking out Moscato and taking your knickknacks off your mantle and walking in your kids' room and in your room and saying that they would be back later and telling everyone they were passing. She got a real nice home. I'm gonna come back and get that stuff.
Yeah, and officials with the Dayton earlier were saying that any looters will be prosecuted. For now, live here in Trotwood, Allison Rogers, WLWT News 5.
All right, Allison, thanks so much. Back to her shortly. In the meantime, one of our meteorologists with our team, Allison Rogers, she is there in the Dayton area and Trotwood specifically. Allison, show us what you're seeing. Those tornadoes are just amazing. You might see a house leveled, a school leveled, and then 5 feet away, 10 feet away, something completely untouched.
Yeah, Mike, but what I will say about this neighborhood is I have not seen a house that looks untouched. So as you mentioned, we're here in Trotwood, and you can actually see down this block here, people now trying to repair the damage left behind after that EF3 tornado with winds around 140 miles per hour, estimated by the National Weather Service during their survey earlier today. So you can see people now trying to repair these roofs here. We've heard chainsaws all afternoon. People have been pulling all the tree limbs that have been torn off other trees or trees that have just been completely uprooted. People have been dragging those out to the side of the street. That way some crews can come by later and come pick those up. And we've heard sirens going by. We've heard helicopters going overhead. You can actually see a lot of people here, the community coming together, helping people clean up everything left behind. The house is over here. We spoke to the homeowner earlier today. She wasn't actually home during the tornado, but her daughter was, and her daughter was telling me how it just felt like it lasted for, a couple of minutes, and you walk outside and this is what you see after a couple of minutes of intense winds, and this is what's left behind. The tree snapped in half over here. Some of this debris over here, I'm told, was actually from another home from across the street. That homeowner telling me that when he saw his street lamp from his window crack in half from the intense wind, that's when he knew he needed to get into his basement with him and the rest of his family. He said he was in his basement from 15 to 20 minutes long and then came out. And like everyone else, when they came out, they saw the devastation left behind. But of course, it occurred at night, which is very dangerous as well, which makes it just even more miraculous that there weren't any more injuries or any more reports of anything bad happening to people since this tornado did come through at night. So everyone heeding that warning. In fact, a tornado emergency issued by the National Weather Service, that is very rare. That only happens when they have significant indication from radar that a tornado is occurring, or if they have proof from people saying, yes, I saw a dangerous tornado going through. And of course, last night, they saw both of those things. And here in the Trotwood community, the devastation is just very hard to get across to you, Mike. I'll send it back to you in the studio.
All right, Allison, thanks so much for your perspective there.